more intense part of the storm now about to move in. Ileana Bravo is at Jackson Memorial Hospital. Ileana, what do you have there now?
Yeah, I am indeed beginning to feel it. Just a moment ago, photographer Rudy Pedro and I were almost blown off the courtyard area here. Lots of tree branches have been downed around us. The scariest thing I've got to tell you is our Live Eye truck mast, which is sort of being moved around there as if it didn't weigh much, and it's quite a hefty piece of steel there, and it is getting a little scary out here. Suddenly out of nowhere the squalls come and then it dies, but it seems now to be keeping at a steady pace, and the rain is coming, and it is definitely eerie.
All right, Ileana, let's go ahead and get you back in here. Unless you have something to tell us, anything new going on at Jackson, we're pretty much, I think everything is in place and set.
I agree.
I think everyone needs to be in place and set, and I think we'd like to get you back in here to the station.
As a matter of fact, Jackson is a safe place to be, which is, I think, where we're going to spend the night.
All right. All right, Ileana, and once again, one of the problems we have with transmitting live is the height of that tower that sticks up out there because it just can't operate in high wind. And what is going to happen is what we're showing here, is that the winds are going to gust and then fall off, and then gust higher and fall off a little less, and then gust higher and fall off a little less. And that's what's going to happen. But as the thicker bands get in closer to the center of the storm, and clearly the storm is moving at a faster rate of speed here, so I think we're going to be into the most intense part of the storm sooner, maybe by an hour than we had originally talked about. But as those thicker green bands come across, it's just going to be more regular. Now, I wanted to go to the storm strike. We have our exclusive storm strike system operating, and it's operating live. And what that's showing you, the yellow areas there, are the current lightning strikes. And you see that band has been just parked right over the West Palm Beach area. At the top of the hour, so we're talking about 35 minutes ago, West Palm Beach was reporting a gust, winds at 29, gusting to 41 in a thunderstorm with visibility at 1 mile, so you see the little finger of the lightning bolts coming in right to the WPB up there. And another line looks like affecting right up there, or had affected already. It looks like that one has pretty much gone by now, up around Boca and Deerfield Beach. But notice we haven't had any of the intense activity yet down here in Dade County at all, and we have had some strikes just offshore.
All right, we understand that David Bloom is standing by live outside that shelter in Hallandale. David?
That's right, Kelly. Certainly not the level of storm activity up here in South Broward County that you're seeing in Dade. But one interesting thing that we are seeing here, and you might see it if we pan off a little bit in the distance here, those flashes that you're seeing, most of those are from the television towers. But we have been seeing some green spiked flashes, and what we're being told is that those are from transformers that are blowing. You've heard about the power outages here in Fort Lauderdale. Photographer John Lang and I went out and drove around. We didn't see a lot of storm activity, but we did see a lot of those green, intense flashes where we're told you find transformers that are blowing in this weather. Now, as is the case in Dade County, you're seeing the wind pick up, the rain certainly hitting me in the face here. Nothing like you're getting in Dade County, but this band of showers is definitely increasing in intensity. Kelly, back to you.
David, what's going to happen there is it could pick up dramatically, very rapidly. So are you operating the truck with the mast up, or are you able to operate with the mast down where you are?
No, we're actually with the mast down, so we're in a great position here as far as going live. I mean, we're probably the best spot because we're not going to get the level of intensity, and we can keep our mast down. For those of you who know anything about television, that means we don't have to have that huge beam up in the air, which would vacillate back and forth in the wind, which would be dangerous.
That's what Ileana just showed us. It's good that he can leave that down for a while.
Right. What I want you to be very careful of there, though, is the possibility of a strong gust coming along all of a sudden that would break a tree limb off and carry it over toward you. So that's what you need to be on the close lookout
I'll
for.
tell you this, Brian, I'm 50 yards from this shelter here at Hallandale High School, where about 1,500 people are asleep inside. Wouldn't take me long to get inside, I can assure you that.
All right, well, if the weather up there changes, and actually you can look, we're looking at the radar picture now, David, and we do not see any major bands approaching your area, just out of dumb luck in the way that the strong weather is around the storm at this very moment. So if you can stay in touch with us and we see anything strong coming your way, then we'll let you know and give you a little warning there.
Yeah, I can tell you also, Brian, photographer John Lang and I just drove down about 15, 20 miles south as well as some north, and there's not the level of intense activity that you're seeing in Dade County anywhere here in this region.
Well, we're confirming that on the radar, and it is only a matter of dumb luck at the way the storm just oscillates and reforms and turns that you see the area of light green on the north side of the storm right up there, or that would be now rotating into Broward County. There's a few areas of dark green, looks like maybe west of Hallandale, getting a little heavier activity, but just not much up there on that side of the storm right now.
Is there a possibility that as it circles around, the light green that area is seeing right now could actually move down into our area that would precede the eye?
Yeah, it could, but what we need to focus on in terms of the maximum amount of damage and the most severe weather is that yellow, very clear band right around the eye. The way these storms work is that's where the intensity is, and that's where the winds are going to be in the 130 mile an hour range in some part of that yellow band as that comes ashore.
And the eye looks smaller than when we talked.
It does, unfortunately,
hours
look
ago.
a little smaller. Although I just don't know whether that's true or not. Well, next time we can get the Dr. Bob sheets where they make very precise measurements on that, because that's where they do the calculations. A lot of this business of giving out wind speed is not a measure of measuring wind speed, like sticking up an anemometer. Because if you go in and look at our anemometer here, it's going up and down and up and down and up and down. A lot of it is doing the meteorology and measuring the pressure and the size of the eye, and they estimate the wind speed as an average over a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm. I bet the folks too on the West Coast are really concerned, maybe not for themselves, but I would imagine when this moves over land, and while it may decrease a little bit in comparison to the size of the storm, Florida is small. So when it gets over into the Gulf with the warmer water, the Texas Gulf Coast, the Louisiana Gulf Coast could be in real trouble.
Well, yes, no doubt, but the thing that's very interesting, because of the fact that the slope up over in Naples and Fort Myers is very gradual, the storm surge over there could be virtually the same as the storm surge we have on our coast with this storm as it is right now. Now, I haven't heard anything. Next time, again, we talk to Bob Sheets, we'll ask if they are anticipating any evacuations over there as the storm goes across. We haven't heard that, but hurricane warnings are in effect for Fort Myers and Naples as well as right here. Isn't that amazing to look at that and think that
is us.
Yes. And that is a hurricane. It's a very eerie feeling.
Looking at the eye on either side, how many miles would you say? About 30?
Well, the eye, Bob Sheets was estimating at 20 miles across was the eye.
Oh.
If the eye is 20 miles across, you see that band is 10 miles at most across. The very, very intense weather. And if you look inside the yellow, if you folks at home can see that, there's an orange band inside the yellow band. There's actually multiple colors there. And that orange band is the very, very, very intense part of it. And it appears that the orange band is actually a little thicker there on the sort of southwest corner, bottom left corner of the eye. You can see it's a little bit thicker in there. And it seems clear that part, that Elliott Key, which is a part that sticks up there at Biscayne Bay, right below the middle of the M, that little thing sticking up, that's Elliott Key. That is going to be the first part of Dade County, which of course is uninhabited, part of Biscayne National Park. But that's going to be the first part, I believe, that may be along with Key Biscayne and
Cutler Ridge is right behind that.
Cutler Ridge is right behind that, right. And Stiltsville appears to be right
Gaunsville.
in line. I assume we have no one out on Stiltsville because most of those houses are just party houses, and I'm sure we have nobody out there. But the intense part of the northern end of the eye is going to be very close.
Key Biscayne, of course, is
Key
right
Biscayne
there.
is going to be very close. But you can see that the edge of these things is very sharp. Look how on that upper left side of the eye, how quickly it falls off from yellow to dark green to light green in very short order. I mean, it may be a period of a distance of 10 miles there. It falls off dramatically. So you can see that within sight almost of where you could have significant destruction, you could have maybe minimal destruction, just depending on how the intense part of the storm happens to be at the time, and at the time that it comes in ashore. So
you say it's moving faster. We can expect it now between 5 and 6?
Well, when are we going to be able to talk to Dr. Sheets again? If somebody upstairs, In 3 minutes. Well, we'll resolve a lot of that then. I mean, it's moving a little bit faster, but a little bit faster means a matter of a half an hour or something in time. And last report, it was 60 miles away. Well, that's 4 hours. So that puts it about 6 a.m. or maybe 6:30. So these very strong winds look like now, you can see the dark green, looks like now it is approaching the coast, and Dr. Sheets is going to have the wind speeds over on Miami Beach because they happen to have, that's where they get the reading. It's an automatic system they have at the Hurricane Center to read the winds on Miami Beach. So we'll see if that dark green is really impacting there. The fascinating thing here is, look at Broward County. You see a few little flecks of dark green there, but you don't see significant areas of dark green. And notice in Howendale in southeastern Broward County, it's light green, and that's why, there you go, you can see it right at the Dade-Broward line. You see where Howendale is in the extreme southeastern corner of Broward County. It's all light green. And that's why Dave Bloom up there is not getting the bad weather right this moment.
Well, you can see it's well past Nassau at this point.
Right, Nassau, the weather's ended. Well, their top winds were 85 miles per hour because they were on the bottom side of the storm. So remember, the top side of the storm is the worst side of the storm for a couple of reasons. One is because of the way it's rotating around, so that's sort of the going inside of the storm. The other is that the winds are additive there with the forward speed. So if the forward speed is 15 or 17 miles an hour and the winds are 130 in the storm, the total is going to be 145 on the top, where on the bottom it's going to be subtractive, so the total on the bottom is going to be 115. So you'd have a swing there of 30 miles an hour top to bottom in the storm. Stronger on the top of the storm, weaker on the bottom of the storm, because the storm is moving forward at the same time the winds are blowing. And that's why we say the right side, or the top of the storm, is the strong side of the storm.
We promised earlier that Bob Sheets would be along in just a couple of minutes. He's taking a break, a well-deserved break, and he'll be along at the top of the hour, as he has always been throughout this.
Okay. All right, well, at 2 o'clock it was, let me confirm to be sure that I'm not misstating here, 60 miles, right, 60 miles. And moving about 15 or 17 miles per hour. So we're talking actually now before 6 a.m. or on the order of 6 a.m. For the eye to arrive. And obviously we're very close to getting the strong winds out there now. Here at 3 o'clock, we'll find out what the reports are coming off of Miami Beach and the other places. But interestingly, and this is the way it is, some of the worst weather we've had so far has been up at West Palm Beach.
And now, how long can we expect the eye to stay with us?
Well, the eye on the order of 20 miles wide, so it looks like to me we're going to, it's about an hour or maybe a little less, but that's only the center of the eye since it's a circle. The place where that center goes by is going to have the maximum amount of time, and the closer you get to the top and the bottom of the eye, obviously the less time you'll have. So if this eye indeed looks like, you know what we need to do is, maybe we can locate one here. I wanted to see if we can look at a Dade County map here.
While you're looking for that, I want to remind the folks that...
I'll tell you what, let me go in and get my Dade County map.
Sure.
And I'll be right back, and we've got lots here to keep you busy.
Indeed I do. You should see this desk. It's a mess. We want to reiterate that if you lose power, if you don't have any electricity, and you can't use your television anymore, if you don't have a battery-operated television, please, we are simulcasting on Y100. That's 100.7 on your FM dial. And again, please tune us over. We will be staying with them throughout the storm. So please, 100.7. And I want to remind you of a couple things. We've had so many calls into the station. People are wondering about animals, say at Metro Zoo. We were told hours ago before this came in that Ron McGill, the curator of Metro Zoo, assured us that the animals are in good shape. They are put into vaults, underground vaults, and there are plenty of food and water for them. They are safe. The airport shut down officially at 11 o'clock tonight, but we understand there are 2,500 people there. They were either stuck there, they were going out tomorrow, or they were coming in here and they were too late for the cruise ships. All of the cruise ships out of Government Cut have gone out. And Brian, you actually say that's sort of a safe place to be, because as long as they got out early enough, and they did, I think most all of them were out by 4, that the captains just steer around the storm.
Yeah, I mean they had plenty of time, and those people, some people have a lot of experience with hurricanes, and some people don't. And the people that run the cruise lines obviously are not going to put their ships as well as their passengers and their crew in any kind of peril. So,
Sure.
So we're not really concerned about that. I want to locate where we are on the map. Unfortunately, my famous Dade County map, which is not in the best of shape.
A little well-worn.
I know, but we use it a lot.
Yes, you do.
So we're talking about, it looks like to me, based on that, just looking at the map there on the radar system of the storm coming in this Bryan Cutler Ridge area right in here. Let me just examine the map as we look at it here a second. Unfortunately, I don't have on this map. I'll tell you what, Kelly, you talk about something else, and I have another map in there. Let me go get.
Okay. Julie, you had just asked me, our producer had just asked me to pass along some information. What was that? Right. Okay. What she is telling me is that we have a Hurricane Andrew hotline set up here at Channel 4. The number is 789-4362. Again, 789-4362, Hurricane Andrew hotline. If you have any particular questions and you're having trouble getting through to some of the other emergency numbers, by all means, call us here at the station. Needless to say, the phones have been ringing off the hook, but we are more than happy to help you. And again, no question is too inane to ask. If you have questions, especially if you're weathering this thing alone or you're not in a shelter and you've never been through one before, by all means, give us a call.
All right.
He's back.
Now I'm back with a little bit different kind of map because I wanted to be sure that I knew exactly what was across from the north end of Elliott Key. And we're talking about the Goulds, Princeton, Oranje area. So between Cutler Ridge and Homestead, if we use the top end there of Elliott Key and that little finger sticking up right below the M and MIA, that little finger sticking up is the top end of Elliott Key and Sands Key there. And so clearly the center of the eye appears like it's going to come across right there, and that would take the center of the eye right between Cutler Ridge and Homestead. And if we figure that the eye is 20 miles across, and very conveniently my scale here on this map is 20 miles, and that would actually make it 10 miles across, right? So the top of the eye, if we use this as a gauge, the top of the eye is going to be Coral Gables Kendall. That's going to be the top edge of the eye, and that's going to put the band. They're asking me if I want to do this over here at the big set, but before we make any moves with the camera here, we'd have to make an adjustment to our hurricane preparations in here. So let's hold off on that in a second. But because I think everybody understands these locations we're talking about, the top of the eye, it would look like Kendall would be as far north as would get. We're talking about, when I say Kendall, I mean South Miami part of Kendall, where the Dadeland Mall is. Would be approximately where the top edge of the eye would be. So that would put the Coral Gables, Coconut Grove area under the strongest part of the winds. But also what that would do is mean that the strongest winds would be able to push the water right through the opening in Biscayne Bay, south of Key Biscayne, and north of Elliott Key. There's the big opening to the bay there, as I said, right where Stiltsville is. So what that means is that in some ways is the worst case situation for driving water up into Biscayne Bay. And what happens is the water goes in and then goes both north and south. When it goes south, it goes down, and you see all this area down here. You can see how it's a lot of Everglades, and see how low all that area is, and that's why South Dade was evacuated all the way back, all the way across the state, as a matter of fact. All of South Dade was evacuated south of Quail Roost Drive. So because, again, just looking at the map there, I understand the MIA is sort of blocking part of the map to the north, but if you take the center of that eye and you take it directly west, and then you go just north up to the top of the eye. Take the top of the eye and go directly west. It's in that opening there in Biscayne Bay, and then the water, once it gets pushed in the bay, has to go out somewhere. And the way it goes out is it floods in extreme southern Dade County, and then it goes up the Miami River and pushes up into northern Dade County. So from a storm surge standpoint in Biscayne Bay, that's about the worst place that we could imagine having a hurricane.
We understand that we have a call from Hialeah Gardens on our hotline. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello. This is Bryan.
Yes.
How you doing? This is John calling from Hialeah Gardens.
Hi, John.
How you doing? I would like to know, because we're hearing a lot about the hurricane over here, but about it coming over here. But what happened to the Bahamas? Any reports from over there? What's going on?
Yeah, we've had Ed Odell over there all day. Has been reporting to us. They had in Nassau. They had top winds of 85 miles per hour. We don't have any good information out of Eleuthera, where the eye actually passed over the northern end of Eleuthera. Because we do know that we have had some fatalities in the Bahamas, but
there are published reports that 4 people have died. However, Ed had told us that was not confirmed. He said there was 1 confirmed death in Eleuthera, but of course, this is very preliminary at this point.
Because we don't have communications with Eleuthera, I'm sure, and the power, as we were talking to Ed, the power was out in Nassau and was coming on and going out, and lines were down and everything else. So if the power lines are down, we know that the telephone lines were down. So I don't think we really know what exactly has happened there yet. But the top winds in Nassau were 85 miles per hour. And again, the reason that was lower than what we're talking about here in the 130 mile an hour, 140 mile an hour range is because they were on the south side of the eye, and the eye missed them by maybe 50 miles.
Right.
To the north. So anyway, those are the only reports we have at this time.
Yeah, because I was wondering, what's going on over there. And there was one of the reporters over there, too. He was, hanging out at one of the hotels. So I'd like to know if he's all right or.
Well, our reporter is hanging out at the international airport now, and we advise them to stay there and not try and venture back in the dark. And we I guess we can reiterate that advice because it applies to everyone here in South Florida after this happens here, too. Don't venture out. Because you can't see if a power line is down. And if you've made it through the hurricane, the stupid thing to do is to injure yourself or lose your life after the storm because you tried to act rashly to do something you didn't need to do. But we know that Ed Odell is doing fine, and we have every reason to think that everybody that acts responsibly in the Bahamas was okay, although we have certainly concern for a lot of the citizens that we know did not act responsibly.
As you can imagine, telephone communication between here and Bahamas is not very good at this point, so we'll pass along how Ed's doing as soon as we know. Meantime, let's go to Dave Bloom, standing by live again in Hallandale. David?
Well, Kelly, I think that it's safe to say that the wind has probably picked up here in South Broward. We're at the Hallandale High School, this evacuation shelter where, as we've said all evening, about 1,500 or so people are right now sound asleep inside, and they're probably not even aware of the fact that this storm is, for the most part, passing south of them. You can hear and see a lot of the wind and some things clanking by us and stuff like that, but really the conditions here are very mild, nothing more than a very light tropical storm at this point.
Yeah, David, if you're able to stand up there, as I see you do, your winds, right, have not yet even reached tropical storm force, because at tropical storm force winds of sustained 40 miles an hour, it's very, very difficult to stand up. You have to really brace yourself.
There were some gusts, Brian, when we went, we're only about, as you mentioned, when we went into Hallandale and the Hollywood area and saw those guys in the condo, we're only about 5 miles from A1A, maybe less than that. Mm-hmm. And so the wind is maybe a little bit stiffer over there, but not much at all. This is pretty much what it's like in South Broward. Certainly nothing compared to what we've seen in, although the rain is picking up right now, to what we've seen in Dade County.
Although we were showing on the radar just a moment ago that actually some of the heavier stuff is inland from you at this point. It's just a matter of dumb luck where the band.
You keep saying that dumb luck, Brian. That's not meant as an insult or anything like that, is it?
You're the one standing out in the rain, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
All right, well, stay with us there. There we can see on the radar again. Look at that. The area of East Broward County is under the light green, where clearly in Dade County we have a dark green band edging into the county. It looks like from about the city of Miami on to the south, and that's going to swing through in an arc as in advance of this eye coming in.
We have a call from Pompano, and I bet you're wondering if you're out of the woods completely, huh?
Hi there.
Hello.
My name's Cliff. We were kind of wondering about the tidal surge up here, if we're going to get anything. I've got a boat in the backyard that sits about 4 feet above high tide.
That's a little hard to tell yet, Cliff. Clearly, you will not get the potentially catastrophic tidal surge that was a possibility when we weren't sure where the core of the storm was going to go in. We're still talking about for the worst part of this, and right now it looks like the worst part is going to be Miami Beach, Key Biscayne, and the west side of Biscayne Bay, where the latest forecast brings tidal surges of 9 to 13 feet in Biscayne Bay and 7 to 10 feet along the east coast, which now looks to appear to be to Miami Beach. And as we go further north, it will diminish. You may have a little pulse of water come in there, maybe of a few feet. Of course, if you have a boat that all of a sudden gets lifted up a few feet, that, depending on how it's tied and whatnot, could be a boat-threatening experience. But it's just difficult to tell until this is over and we see if a strong wind band rotates around. I mean, right now, Broward County, there must be a lot of lucky people in Broward County because you can see where the dark green is, indicating the medium to strong part of the storm as opposed to the absolutely spectacularly intense part of the storm in the yellow band right around the eye. So is it Cliff? Is that who we were talking to? Mm-hmm. In Pompano? So far, Cliff, I think you're in good shape.
How about power outages affecting us up here?
Well, it doesn't take much to have a power outage. As Dave Bloom was talking about in Hallandale from his location, he was able to see off in the distance power going out because transformers were exploding and wires were arcing together. So that, again, is just a matter of if you happen to have an unlucky tree that hits a power line, that's going to take your power out. But that's, in most cases, what takes the power out. So
you keep talking about the storm surge in Biscayne Bay, and a lot of folks who live in those high-rises say, oh, but everybody's told me this place can withstand the storm. You had told me earlier that it's the foundation and what's underneath the foundation that really will make the difference with the storm surge.
Although I feel a lot better about the Brickell high-rises than I do about the ones
Makes me feel good.
Than I do about the ones on the beach. I'm not guaranteeing anything about Brickell high-rises, but you know the way they're built there is usually it's cement all the way out to the seawall and down, as opposed to a high-rise that's sitting on Hallandale Beach that may be sitting on sand. There's not a whole beach of sand there to erode away easily. Erode away. I mean, all that sand, we'll see. The Miami Beach that we know today may not be there when this is over tomorrow. That huge beach that was installed over there in the late 70s and it seems to me it was the late 70s and into 1980. Could it have been that long ago that those dredges were over there? But that beach may not exist and probably won't exist in the form that we know it. We have known it up to this point, and we'll just see how much of that is left, because as this comes in and then drags back out again, it's going to take a lot of that with it. But along the bayfront, that's pretty much cement and not something that's going to wash out underneath the condominium. So I feel better about that part of it, at least, although the downstairs first and possibly even second floor of many of those condominiums may very well be just devastated as the water goes crashing through. But they are made to withstand that. The Dade County Code requires no living area on those bottom two floors for that reason. All right, we're going to go now to, is it Dr. Bob Sheets?
Yes.
Is that the National Hurricane Center? Okay, he's back with us. Here's Dr. Sheets of the 3 o'clock advisory.
Good morning. Hurricane Andrew now nears the shore of southeast Florida at this hour. The center of the hurricane is located about 40 miles due east of Miami. The eye of the hurricane will move on shore within the next 3 to 4 hours across South Florida. At this time, winds of now about 130 miles per hour sustained. I'm Bob Sheets from the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida.
All right, 40 miles away, 40 miles and moving at about 15 or 16 miles per hour means we're down to less than 3 hours, so the increased forward speed, again, that's for the eye. That is not for the intense weather. You guys are almost ready in there. We're going to have to shift over to our safe spot in this building very soon, because what we want to have happen is when you see us move and you're watching us, we want you to move to your safe spot and stay with us on Y100, and we're going to stay with you as long as we can. Now,
what about folks who may not know what the safe spot is? You might want to remind them.
All right, well, let's be sure that with this event imminent here, and we're talking especially for people in Dade County now. I think it's clear that the worst of this is going to happen in Dade County. Although as it goes by, there's no guarantee that we're not going to have even hurricane force winds in Broward County, but the worst of this is going to happen in Dade County. You need to be now, and if you folks down in an evacuation zone that did not leave in South Dade County, especially near the bay and Cutler Ridge, places like that, it's time for you to very, very closely examine your house and figure out a place in the inside section, but give yourself a chance. Don't lock yourself in anywhere, because if that water starts rising, you may have to fend for your life here if you're close to the bay in South Dade County, because that is where the water is going to come in a big, big way. Also, up in North Dade County, those folks that were up in Morningside, we just don't know right now how bad that's going to be, that close to Morningside Park and on up in there, and Belmead and places like that. The difference between a 7-foot surge and an 8 or 9 foot surge would make all the difference between life-threatening conditions 2 or 3 or 4 blocks from the beach and not, and we just can't predict it down to that level. So you're going to have to, now is the time for you to be examining very, very closely what your escape routes are going to be, where the highest spot is going to be. This isn't going to be, the way this is going to work when the surge comes in, it's not going to come in with some huge wave and crash on top of you. That's not the way storm surge works. It's a big dome of water that gets pushed up, and it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow and grow. In McClellanville, which is that little town up north of Charleston, Hurricane Hugo, they had people in a shelter there. And if you can imagine a more frightening experience than this, the survey that was done of that shelter was done in error. And they measured the elevation of the shelter, and they had a mistake. And they thought that it was higher than it was. And the water started rising in the shelter, and it was a big auditorium, and it rose and it rose and it rose, and everybody in that shelter crowded up on the stage. It was a cafeteria sort of thing with a stage, and it rose and it rose and it rose, and they put the people in wheelchairs up on tables on the stage, and it quit rising before anyone lost their life. But if you can imagine that situation. But that's the way it's going to work, especially in a building. It's going to rise and rise and rise and rise, and then it's going to go down fairly quickly. But out in the exposed area where the wind is hitting it, there are going to be waves breaking on top of that. The sort of bad thing is that with the earlier arrival of the hurricane, that means we're closer to high tide, so that may add a half a foot, or say compared to it being an hour later, something like that. So we don't know. I can't tell you at this moment what it means for you folks north of downtown Miami, all the way from right along the Bayfront. Of course, we don't have people living in Bayfront Park, but going up in the Miramar area, it's called, up Wynwood. You folks are at risk up there to some degree, especially in the eastern sections over toward Biscayne Boulevard. As I recall, the evacuation zones there, Biscayne Boulevard, I guess, was the, no, it was the railroad track, is the evacuation zone. So parts of Wynwood on up Bay Point, even to the up there going north to Morningside, to Belmead. Of course, the 79th Street Causeway areas, Treasure Island, Bay Heights, that's not Bay Heights, the islands around Treasure Island over there near where Channel 7 is, those islands out there on the 79th Street Causeway, all at significant peril here, and you need to know what your, not escape route from your house is going to be, but I think if I were in those areas and I did not evacuate, I would be making a large pile of furniture that I could get on top of and get as close to the ceiling as possible if that water starts rising in your house, because it's going to rise and then it's going to go down, and you know, it's going to be bad, and especially in homes. Maybe if you have shutters, that might hold it out a little bit, but you just know how powerful water flowing in is. It's the most powerful thing there is. It sweeps concrete walls away. It sweeps huge boulders with it. So now is the time to pile up the furniture if you're near Biscayne Bay, anywhere in Dade County, and know how you're going to get higher. Higher, I think, is going to be the bottom line.
Oscar in South Beach, do you hear that?
I sure do. Okay.
What are you still doing in South Beach?
Oh, well, we're waiting until the storm goes through so we can surf about 2 o'clock.
You're not going to be surfing up. It's 3 o'clock now, Oscar.
No, I mean 2 o'clock in the afternoon once it goes by.
Well, by that time, I don't know, though. I think the winds may mess up your surf, Oscar. I think you might have waited out there for nothing. Where are you on South Beach?
Oh, we're on 12th Street.
12th
and Alton Road.
All right.
But we're on the second level.
All right. Oscar, the best thing I can tell you there...
Well, my question was,
okay.
when the power lines go down, do they cut them off? I mean, because if people, let's say after 2, 3 o'clock, I mean, is there a chance of electrocution, or what's the deal with that?
We don't want anybody outside. In fact, we're likely to have some version, and I don't know the legal terms here, so I hate to use the word martial law, but I think it's going to be something like a martial law declared for Dade County tomorrow. So I doubt, or later today now, I doubt, Oscar, that you're going to be allowed out of your house tomorrow in the afternoon, because I suspect we're going to have the National Guard descend on Miami Beach and all along the eastern part of Dade County tomorrow to keep order and to keep people off the street.
Oscar, are you by yourself?
No, I'm with a friend.
All right, well, here's what you need to do, Oscar. You need to stay away from the windows and then wait and see what happens tomorrow. It turns out...
We're sleeping in the hallway.
Yeah, all right. Well, you're not going to be able to sleep, trust me here. It's going to get very loud very soon. It turns out that the west part of Miami Beach, over where Oscar is there, is relatively safe from storm surge. This storm surge probably it may cover Miami Beach.
You would be surprised how many people are still out here.
Right. It may cover Miami Beach, but it will not be life-threatening there. I'll tell you what, Oscar, we'll give you more information in a moment, but let's go to, is it Jose?
Jose is standing by at the Dade County Emergency Management Center. Jose?
Well, Kelly, just a little update on a fire which officials have been responding to now for some time. Is at Northwest 172nd Avenue and Biscayne Boulevard. It is at the two-story building, Mako Marine. It's a boat outlet. Now, 15 units have been sent out there to respond. They say that essentially it's going to be burning to the ground. They're just trying to contain it outside so it doesn't spread any further. But just to show you how critical of a point we are at right now, officials here tell me that all police units have been ordered to return back to base. There is simply too much danger for them out there. And firefighters are being told that within 15 minutes they've got to pull back as well, so that from now on, virtually anything that happens is, if there's a fire, it's going to pretty much have to burn out of control, because it is just too dangerous for officials to be out. So you can imagine anyone else should be already taking all the precautions and being as safe as possible. And as I throw it back to you, Bryan, some questions here at the Rumor Control Hotline that I think you should address. One is that apparently a lot of people are calling, just panicking and saying, how are they going to get through the storm? Something you can tell them to just let them know what it's going to be like and what they can expect in the next couple of hours, so that maybe they can just be a little bit more at ease. Back to you.
Well, I don't think there's any way to make them at ease here, Jose. I think what we need to have people doing at this moment is examining this situation. If you live in the evacuation zone in Dade County, especially Miami Beach, I'm talking about the city of Miami Beach, as opposed to extreme North Dade, which does not seem to be as much at peril here at the moment. Or if you live on the west side of Biscayne Bay, as we've described here, and I'm talking about all of Biscayne Bay, or if you live right along the Miami River for some reason, not many people do, you need to be looking where you are right now. And to try and determine how are you going to get to higher ground, and higher ground means inside your house. Like I said, I would be piling sofas, chairs on top of sofas, so that you can get to absolutely as high as you can in your house. If you're close to the bay, if you're very close to the bay, and you know anybody that's further from the bay, I would be getting in my car right now and getting out.
Really?
Even you folks, in spite of the fact, I'm phrasing this carefully. I'm saying I would do it. I'm not telling anybody to do it because it's dangerous, okay? But I would not be near the bay in those people that we saw in Morningside, and anybody, we haven't been down in Cutler Ridge and near the bay down there. But I would not be there. The winds here have not picked up to the point yet that it is as threatening as it potentially is, the storm surge potentially is. But I would not be caught in my car by any means. I would have a place to go, because being caught in your car may be the worst possible thing that could happen. But the storm surge, more people are going to die because of that storm surge than any other mechanism that is going to kill people in this hurricane. So we need to get people away from that storm surge, and away may mean up in a two-story building, away may mean inland, but if you have some place to go, you need to go this absolute second.
And again, Brian, it's important to say that if the police officers are being told to not hit the streets, this is virtually almost too late, really. To
It really is, and I want to phrase that carefully to say that if it were me and I had been careless enough to not heed the warnings earlier, thinking it wasn't going to happen, friends, it is going to happen now for Dade County. Now, once the storm goes even further inland, this intense part of the storm is going to go through Coral Gables, and it's going to go through Coconut Grove, and it's going to go inland into the Kendall area, and it's going to be very, very bad all the way west, as far west as this county goes. And any folks that are there in houses, unprotected houses, and I dare say most people in their homes tonight are in unprotected houses.
Matter of fact, Brian, and sorry to interrupt you, a lot of the calls here are, hey, you know, I've got tape on my windows.
Forget the tape on the window.
That's exactly right. And one other question that seems to be popping up a lot here at this hour is, a lot of people say that they're living in townhouses and that it's a 2-story townhouse. Should they go to the second floor? Does that matter?
No. If they're not in the evacuation zone, it doesn't matter. If they are in the evacuation zone, absolutely the second floor matters. But if they're not in the evacuation zone, then they need to stay on a bottom floor. They need to stay in an interior, no window thing. If it's a closet, assuming they don't have any window protection here,
right.
And maybe even if you do have window protection, because the core part of this storm that is going to affect the areas that we said, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Kendall, West Miami, possibly even as far north as Westchester. I'm guessing here, and it may actually be a little further north. It may affect the city of Miami, but downtown Miami I'm talking about. But in fact, let's go to the radar again, because every minute that goes by now is going to bring us some clarification here. Key Biscayne, I've left out Key Biscayne. Key Biscayne is at risk of having the worst part of this storm go right over Key Biscayne. So you know where Key Biscayne is, in reference to Miami, or reference to the city of Miami, compared to Coconut Grove. So it looks like to me that is where the core of this is going to happen. And that may be the absolute worst part, but notice the eye there and the eye wall, that almost perfect circle. The bottom part is very, very intense too, and that's going to cover all the way down, including all of southern Dade County. So from where the top of that circle comes in, all the way down to southern Dade County is going to be under the maximum part of the storm, plus or minus 20 miles an hour.
Dave Bloom in Hallandale, what's the situation? Hello, Dave. Do we have Dave?
Yes, you should have me. Do you hear me, Kelly?
Go ahead,
Whatever dumb luck we had has ended here. The power just went out throughout all of this Hallandale area, and that means that including the shelter here, which you can no longer see because it's in the dark, but at Hallandale High School here, and the wind is definitely kicking up. I mean, as we described before, it might not be tropical storm wind at this location, but I'll tell you this, in the last 5 minutes, we've been getting some major gusts, and we went out on the beach earlier and didn't get anything like this. The wind is definitely kicking up here.
Dave, I think the lights just came on behind you there, but we just saw some lights just came on back there. We saw a blue flash behind you as you were speaking there. Is that what you said you have been seeing around the area there?
Yeah, that's exactly. We've been seeing a green flash, but you're right, the lights are coming back on. I'm not sure if they have emergency generators here or not, but just about 5 minutes ago, this whole area just took a hit and all the power went off. And again, it seems to be kicking back on again, so maybe they've got things under control, but definitely we can say this. The wind, the rain, everything is picking up here, even though we're in South Broward and not really only on the cusp of this storm.
Dave, I'm not sure if we're on the air on Channel 4 here or not, or if we've lost a satellite dish out there. John, can you tell us?
Our producer just told us indeed we were off the air. We have lost television power.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, if someone could confirm with us if we're still on Y100, we would like to know that. Okay, we're still on the radio on Y100 in spite of the fact we've lost Channel 4 temporarily. Okay, when we get back on the air here, tell me when we're back on the air, John.
Okay.
Oh, we understand we are back up.
Okay, well, now we're back on Channel 4. Let me say this so that everybody gets out their radio. Get your radio tuned now to Y100, because in spite of the fact we lost power at Channel 4 here very temporarily, we were on the air on Y100 through that whole event, and we will stay on the air as long as possible. John Lugring, we need to speed this to completion. in here, okay? Why don't we plan to make the switch over in there at 3:30? Would that be all right?
We're talking about a safe area for the station where we will retreat, and we're going to try to get a television camera in there.
We have
definitely
the
a
television,
microphone.
John, and Bruce Carter have set up a television camera in there. We're going to get Tony Segreto is going to get set up over in there. It's a concrete area. Explain storm surge again and when this is going to happen. Okay, we will do that because that is what the bottom line of this thing is going to be. All right, so let's hope let's go over it again. First of all, let's hope everybody is now tuned to Y100, and you can be listening to Y100 and watching your television. Therefore, if we go off there on one or the other, you'll be with us here, although we have every reason to believe it's much easier to broadcast on the radio than it is to broadcast on television. So we have every reason to believe that the radio is going to last longer here, especially since cable is no doubt out in a lot of locations. If you folks, especially in Broward County, if your cable is out but your power is on, you can get Channel 4. You just have to go back and disconnect the cable back there and see if you don't still get something on Channel 4. But in any case, you can listen to us on the radio. Now, I wanted to get everybody doing that even in Dade County here,
right,
because guaranteed you're going to lose power here very shortly in Dade County. Within the next hour in Dade County, the power is going to go out. There's absolutely no question about it in most of Dade County.
We understand we have some damage video now. Let's take a look at this, and if our producer can tell us, well, this looks like Biscayne Bay, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Miami.
That's obviously, that must be the MacArthur Causeway.
Off of Miami Beach.
Coming off Miami Beach.
That looks like the airport.
That's the Omni, I think, isn't it?
It looks like the airport, or perhaps the Omni. It's tough to tell.
Yes, that's the bridge going from the Marriott over to the Omni, I think, there. That's downtown Miami. That's 3rd Avenue there. Obviously, the City of Miami Police signed down on the Julia Tuttle Causeway there. So the wind, such as it has been so far, is taking its toll. Our wind gusts on Miami Beach, gusting to 62 miles an hour. Where is our crew, by the way? I would like to know where Mike Zimmer and Rob Pierce are, and be sure that they have made
the best place they should be, in the studio.
Okay, they're back here. Well, that's good to know. Winds gusted to 62 miles per hour on Miami Beach as of 3 o'clock. We're getting 40 miles per hour now at the Miami Airport, 35 miles per hour at West Palm Beach. I think that either Fort Lauderdale, I don't know, Bryan Allen, before you leave the Storm Center in there, if you could check and see if we have any reports from Fort Lauderdale as of 3 o'clock. But let's, again, because we're at the point now to everyone in Dade County from Miami south. Everyone in Dade County from Miami south is going to feel the worst part of this storm. Now, clearly you see a lot of dark green up there north of the circular part of the storm. I'm not saying that you may not get hurricane force winds in North Dade County and even into Broward County, because as those bands, as the storm goes through, those strong bands, and there are plenty of them behind the storm. But the worst part of this storm is going to happen, and it is going to happen perhaps an hour from now, and it's going to happen in Dade County. And what is happening here is, if you recall, just Fort Lauderdale, 52-mile-an-hour winds at the Fort Lauderdale Airport, gusting up there. If you remember now the circulation, are we set up over here on the big sat? Maybe I should do this. I can do this a little more clearly over there in the control room. Are we set up on the big sat to do that?
Nobody's talking to us.
Maybe they've evacuated the control room. All right, well, let me continue here. Remember that the storm circulates in a counterclockwise direction. So as you're looking at it, it's going counterclockwise around that eye.
Right.
Now, on the top side of that counterclockwise motion, that wind, that fierce wind, and that little narrow yellow band there is pushing the water with tremendous force. So out ahead of the storm, it's pushing a mound of water up. And so out there over the ocean right now, as we're speaking, there is a mound of water that's growing in front of that storm, and that mound of water is going to be pushed into Biscayne Bay. Well, the water offshore is quite deep, is very deep. Mm-hmm. But that mound now, as the sea bottom comes up to Biscayne Bay, is going to be brought higher and higher and higher and higher until it gets into Biscayne Bay, where it's relatively shallow. And that's why when it hits Miami Beach, it's going to spill over Miami Beach until it stops. But when it goes into Biscayne Bay, it's going to spread out in Biscayne Bay. and the land rises very gradually in South Dade, and that's why the flooding, the anticipated flooding in South Dade is quite severe, and it's going to rise all along the bayfront because this huge amount of water is going to be forced in there, and all of a sudden there's going to be too much water in the bay, and it has to get out. It has to go somewhere, and it's going to rise, and it's going to go up the Miami River as well. So that's what storm surge is. Exactly what's going to happen, all I can tell you is that the projections are 7 to 10 feet along Miami Beach and up to 13 feet in Biscayne Bay is what the projections are, although that was with, let me check the wind speed here, that was with a 140-mile-an-hour storm, so maybe a little lower than that. So let's take a foot off of it. But still, we're talking about life-threatening storm surges all along the bayfront, the western side of Biscayne Bay, and along the coast of Miami Beach. Now, for Oscar it was that called us, and for everyone else that has decided to stay on Miami Beach, here I have a little bit of good news for you. The west side of Miami Beach is not in peril from this storm. You may actually get some storm surge, a reverse surge, as the bay tries to fill up and back up on you. But the west side, if you are in an interior hallway on the west side of Miami Beach, we're talking Alton Road and West End over there, and that part of Miami Beach, that side is not in peril, but you need to be inside and be away from windows because at Collins Avenue, there's a pretty significant ridge of Miami Beach, and that's going to stop the major part of this storm surge. But still coming back the other way, and the likelihood that the causeways here are not going to be available for emergency vehicles for some time, and it may take all day tomorrow, it may take into Tuesday before we can really get any help over to you. That's where the danger is going to be after this storm is over.
We talked about our area where we are going to go in a cement enclosed area. We have a remote camera, John Lugering over here.
You're up.
You're up. Why don't you go back? I think Tony Segreto is standing by in the center where we will go. As you can see.
Yes, I'm in here, Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can't see you yet, but we're getting there. I don't know if there's proper lighting in there so we can see.
Well, let's put it this way. There's lighting in there, but it's not exactly the kind of lighting we're used to.
Here comes John Lugering, and yeah, here we are. And we are in, as you both indicated, the safest part of this building. We just put a light on it here, and quite frankly, we are in the oldest part of this building where all the equipment for WTVJ Channel 4 is stored. You know, Bryan, you talked about this building earlier. It's been deemed an historical building. The original movie theater here in the South Florida area. We're located on North Miami Avenue between 3rd and 4th Street. But this is where we're going to be moving to once you finished your shift, Kelly, and we'll bring Bryan back in here. And until you come in here, Bryan, we're going to throw it back out to you there.
All right, let's take a look at this radar once again. And the reason that I said just a moment ago that I think it's time for us to make our move is because I'm seeing the dark green area now infringing on the Dade County coast. We're seeing the winds gusting over 62 miles per hour. And once you get above hurricane force, we just really don't know what's going to happen. So as we do this, what we want to do is encourage two different classes of people to take action. The people that are in the evacuation zone still and did not get out like we told them to, we want them to pile up furniture, know how they're going to get absolutely as high as they can if the water starts rising in their home. For the people that are inland in all of the southern 2/3 of Dade County, everything from Miami south, let's say from somewhere around the 79th Street, or maybe even a little north of that. Let's say Miami Shores, 103rd Street south, just to try and be sure here. And if you, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to expand that because we don't know. I can't say that we're not going to have significant winds in Broward. No, if you're in a home that does not have covered windows on every single window, know where that interior place is now, that if this thing starts really coming in where you are, and it's going to happen in Dade County and it may happen everywhere here, know where you're going to go. Am I hearing?
I can start, yeah.
We can hear it now here outside. All right,
to have died down a
let's
little
go
bit.
ahead. Yeah, it's coming in those surges that we're talking about, and this is why I said that when I started seeing this green here, that was the time for us to make our move here, because we're right there in downtown Miami. Now, John, where do we stand with everybody in the building? Are we ready to move in there?
Oh, yeah.
Are we all set to move in there? How about the folks in the control room? Are we just going to leave the control room punched up? I mean, I'd rather...
Don't know yet.
Okay, well,
Yeah, you can start to hear it now.
I would rather not have folks well, why would we threaten anybody's life here? This is there's
Just
no
leave
reason
it.
to do
I
that.
would think just leave it punched
Leave
up.
it on the switcher,
and,
and then if something happens, we're on the radio. And maybe if we can rig up some sort of alternative, easy switch with the camera, some way to put the camera directly on the air, we could do that. But there is no reason here to imperil anyone. I can tell you, sitting in the studio, it's an eerie feeling hearing that going on outside.
It sure is.
Right through the roof here, which indeed is a pretty strong roof. But while we're talking about our situation here, I hope everyone that is listening to us and watching us here tonight is talking about and taking action for their situation where they are, because as you can clearly see, this is the worst part of this is going to happen in Dade County, and I think that I think I can see south of that red blob, right around where the radar is, which is not intense rain, where we must be getting in South Dade. You see the yellow in there. We must be getting some very strong weather down South Miami and points south. And even now up into Broward County, it looks like Deerfield Beach has some dark green up that way. No doubt Deerfield Beach down to Fort Lauderdale getting some medium heavy weather. But the big stuff is just now coming into Dade County, and it will come all the way across the county. And the monster stuff is going to be a central Dade County event.
Okay, well, we talked about making the move. Do you think about, certainly anybody who is in our building, now is the time. The center that we're talking about is directly behind the studio. Again, this is all cement enclosed. It is on the second floor.
We're on the second floor of the building, and we have cement above us. We have cement in every direction except for on this studio wall here. Are we? So you feel good here, John, that that you're ready to go? All right.
What about the folks in the control room? Is this a go at this point?
I got the word from the control room that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Whenever we are ready to go. So I'll tell you what. Why don't we get our maps together, and why don't you folks at home do the same? We have our monitors up in there, John. Okay, great. We'll get our maps together so that we can continue with specific information, and theoretically, we're going to be set to be in exactly the same situation in there that we are here. And just hold on here just a second. I've had these maps for a long time, and we're not going to lose any stupid hurricane.
The map properly, even as a category 4 hurricane is making its way toward us. Right.
We can hear it clearly. I know you folks at home can't hear it, but clearly we can hear it outside. Let me see. I'm all wireless. I'll tell you what, maybe, Raphael, you could find a couple batteries here to bring in here as we go in here so that we don't run out of power. Although we're going to, I guess Tony has a mic in here that we can use no matter what happens battery-wise.
Here we are, Bryan. We're all set. We're all set. I'll tell you what, this is the safest spot, without a doubt, here at the station. As you mentioned, it is all cement enclosed. In fact, John, you can just widen out just a minute. We can tell people where we are. This is an old equipment storage room here. In fact, you can see a lot of the old WTVJ equipment, wires and light fixtures being hung. And as Bryan indicated, this is the most secure spot in this building. We are totally surrounded by cement, and
well, we're not totally surrounded.
Well, except
we
for
would
that
like
wall.
this wall to be cement too, but it's the best we can do. That was an interesting sound.
Yeah, it sure was an interesting sound, one that I didn't want to hear again. But you're right; it's awfully eerie to hear that storm coming, and Bryan Allen is coming in with some sleeping bags.
I'll tell you what, Tony, if you want to stand up,
yeah.
I think that'll be a little more comfortable after a period of time here. We'll put this sleep. No, I think that's going to be okay. Why don't we put it for other folks? We're going to have a good crowd in here. Not only do we have our WTVJ people here, but we also have a lot of NBC people that are covering this disaster in the making here for the nation and the world, and they operate out of WTVJ, and we're going to have them in here too. does anybody know what that sound was that we heard up above us here just a moment ago? That was a very interesting
Sounded as
sound.
if something dropped on the roof, didn't it?
It's exactly what it sounded like. Yes.
Maybe we can punch that radar
I
back
don't care
up.
if why don't we just leave that shot up? And did I just hear that sound again?
Yeah, I did too.
I would feel a lot more comfortable, you folks in the control room, if you would just leave that shot up there and come on down and join us. And then if we evaluate here, if we lose it or something and we evaluate that it's going to be safe for you to go up there and make some sort of correction, and then we'll do it at that time. But I would feel a lot better having everybody in this television station in this
You want to
room
lock
with us
down,
here.
John?
Yeah. If you want to go ahead, go
Why don't
ahead.
you lock down? I think
we're
everyone
doing
will
live
understand
TV here.
here.
This isn't going to be the most graceful thing, but that's all right.
With John Lugering, though, he's pretty graceful in these tight spots.
I think our light is actually pretty good here, Gary. I don't think we want to let you lose any more power.
Once again, we are just taking a live picture of the radar, and as Bryan has been indicating, especially for the past half hour, you really can see the dark green, which is the real intense portion of the storm as the eye within the circle of the yellow there approaches the coast.
Yeah, I see inside the eye.
Mm-hmm.
The outer eye wall is that yellow donut-looking thing, which is just super intense. And I will tell you, I have never seen that on a radar. I have never seen that because we have never had a storm this intense on radar.
I got the feeling from Bob Weaver when you took your little break that when you go to meteorological school and they draw you the perfect storm, this would be it.
It's had a lot of the characteristics. It's actually gone through some difficulty here, and you can see that it's not as symmetrical, although it is getting more symmetrical, notice, as it approaches the coast here, which is interesting. But I'm not sure of the significance of inside that circle that we're seeing green in there now.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what that means. It may just be that we're getting some sort of disturbance there, that some rain is blowing in there. I don't know what that means, but yes, Bryan.
I've been told that the noise you've just been hearing, that is the tape room. People move or doors slam upstairs. That's the sound we're actually hearing.
Oh, I see.
From the third floor up.
Okay, all right.
So
it's not. There's nothing to do with the storm.
You know, it's an ominous sound when you're
really
sitting here.
The building shakes when that happens,
Yeah.
And the fact is that once all this starts here, very soon, and when I say all this starts, in some sense it started already because the dark green area is now moving over the coast. But when I say all this starts, what I mean is when that circular yellow area moves over the coast, because that is the core of this thing. And the frightening, the ironic, the amazing part of this is that is such a small area. When you think about it, when you take that little narrow part at the top of the eye is really the worst of it. You take that inland, the number of miles of distance involved is so incredibly small.
And what's so difficult to gather here is that it's so incredibly small, yet the storm is so incredibly big.
Right. In Hurricane Hugo, we talked about before that the city of Charleston experienced a Category 2 hurricane. Well, the eye was bigger there. Mm-hmm. And that narrow band of damage was 20 miles displaced from the eye, and it happened to hit in the Francis Marion National Forest, which is a huge national forest north of Charleston, the only place on the entire east coast of the United States that's not inhabited.
Is that right?
The one and only place. The reason that Hurricane Hugo was not anywhere near as devastating a storm as it deserved to be based on its size and strength is because it happened to hit that little narrow thing, threaded the needle into that little narrow spot, that little slot on the coast. Now, clearly tonight that is not happening. That little narrow band is threading the needle on the city of Miami.
Excuse me, at this point, is there any chance that it could move a little further north or a little further south, or is it just too close to the coast now and it's going to move?
There's certainly a chance it can move a little further north, a little further south, and we can see, look at the bands back behind the storm and on top of the storm, showing yellow in them as well.
Right.
So as they rotate up through Broward, we're not in any way saying that Broward is not going to get hurt for hurricane force conditions and not going to have damage here.
Okay.
We're not saying that at all, but what we are saying is that the most intense part of the storm, I think without any question, is going to occur in Dade County.
Okay, we got a caller from South Dade near 112th Street and 71st Avenue, east of US 1, about a mile from the parrot jungle, said the entire area is now blacked out, power completely gone. It happened, I guess, about an hour ago, according to the caller. The caller also said strong winds, a lot of lightning,
right, well,
and heavy thunderstorms and sheets of rain coming in at quite a clip.
We just lost one channel of the ADO, it looks like to me here, because we're...
I can also tell you, I just spoke with my house in Davie, and they have been without power for the past hour, and they have yet to hit real strong winds. They have a lot of rain, but not a lot of winds, but they've already lost some power. And I guess we also saw from Dave Bloom that Hallandale has lost power.
Lost power off. What's going on there, John? Do you know?
I'm going to go see if we're on.
And we're still on. If we have lost our signal on WTVJ, we are still on Y100. And
we need to. I tell you what. Can you turn on Y100 there just to be sure we're still on the air on the radio over there, John?
Again, we are going to stick with you as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, we're still on Y100.
We're still on
okay.
with Y100. So if you can't see us, because we are now again still trying to bring equipment in here to see if we are on the air.
John, why don't you go ahead and see if you can figure out what exactly is going on.
But
here
we can tell the people through the radio exactly how far. Oh, we are on the air. Okay, we are on the air. Okay.
All right, John. We're going to go ahead and try and sort out what's happened, because what apparently happened is we have emergency generating equipment here, but during the transition from the FP&L power to our emergency power, sometimes a little disruption. Apparently, it's affected our video, and that's why your video screen is a little out of whack. But we want to preserve our fuel in our emergency generators because we feel certain that we're going to need it here tomorrow, so that we can operate properly. And so we want to try and use FP&L as long as we can here. So it is disruptive to us, though, when they do take a hit and we lose the power, at least temporarily.
6:30 a.m.
No, I think we're talking before that now.
6 o'clock probably.
Or before that even.
Really?
We're on the air now. Thank you, George.
It is now 3:45. So we're looking at another 2 hours. 3:39.
3:39.
Okay. 3:39.
Right. We're looking at, well, we can see that right below our picture there, the strong part of the storm is approaching the very tip there of right where the scan is right now. That's the very tip of Elliott Key. Now, right below you see that little tail of the yellow hanging out. No, over the see the red there.
Yep.
The red area is the part there is not. We don't know what's in there because that's being masked by the radar. But just below that yellow area, that's the intense part. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and just punch it up, and when we get it, we'll talk about what we see. But the yellow area there's just below the red blob in the middle is the area that in the parrot jungle area. That's there. We just took another power
hit.
Is the area that is getting the very heavy rain in Dade County at this point. But again, what we're waiting for here for the intense, destructive part of this storm is that donut, that circular area about 20 miles, well, the interior part is about 20 miles wide. The exterior part is a little wider than that. That's what we're waiting for that to happen.
Again, keep your windows closed. We have been preaching this to you since we have been on the air. We also tell you and urge you, do not be curious enough to go outside. Because while you may think it's not so windy or you can withstand the wind and you want to see how strong you might want to be, you just can't tell with the flying debris when something's going to come, and whether it's a branch, whether it's something that's flying through the air. As I had indicated to Bryan when I arrived here at the station yesterday, there were probably 40 or 50 Bob's barricades on the turnpike, which I'm sure have become missiles. There were 30 or 40 Bob's barricades in the Davie area where they're doing some road construction, and I'm sure those are missiles. So please stay inside.
All right, from the Dade County EOC, we have only 20 firefighting units are still left on the street in Dade County, and I can guarantee you that they will be pulled here very shortly as this core of the system comes in. All police have been called back. Rumor control hotline is on. We're still operating. 596-8735. If I don't know, I have no idea what they might be able to tell you at this point, because the bottom line is that if you are still in peril, now is the time for you to take your final course of action, because the onslaught of the intense part of the storm is going to happen in Dade County, and it is going to happen within the next 40 minutes to an hour would be my estimate. That would be the edge of the eye.
And again, as you have indicated, we have moved, and we urge you at this point to move
make your move, take your
safest part
radio,
of the house.
and turn off power, turn off water, or if you're not going to turn off the power, at least turn off your water.
Come on in, Bryan.
Yeah, come
We're
on.
getting unconfirmed reports right now on the beach of wind gusts up to 78 miles an hour so far.
All right. Bryan Allen has said that people have called in and said 78 miles per hour. It may be a report coming out of the National Hurricane Center. John, I actually would prefer to see the radar than us. Oh, okay. We have some. All right. Well, we've already seen this tape one time. This was recorded some time ago.
South
This is the
Beach.
Omni area here, and then we're going to have a shot of downtown Miami. But clearly, this is old tape. It is much, much worse than that out there now. Maybe we have some new shots here added to this tape, I guess.
And we're beginning to see
what's going on.
What
out
is
there.
going on
But the thing
outside.
is that what we're seeing here is very, very minor compared to what's going to happen imminently. I mean, this is nothing.
Do we still have Grove Cam? Is that still in working order?
Okay.
You can't.
All right, well, I'll tell you, I would prefer to see the radar than anything else here, because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to tell the people that are still left in this building here that are not here. Okay, we're working on getting the radar back up. Okay, there's the radar. We are within striking distance here now of absolutely requiring that everyone get in here. Because if you look, two things to look at. First of all, I told you about the donut. That is the most intense part of the storm. But look right above that.
It seems to me that it's getting bigger. Maybe we've just been staring at it.
It may be, yeah. It may be getting a little bigger. It does change a little bit. But right above that is a very strong spiral band that is just about to rotate in around that. And again, unfortunately, with this Miami radar, we don't know for sure what's going on in there, where that red area is, where the center of the radar beam is. But clearly that next band, that outer band, is going to rotate in before that inner band comes in, and that's the worst of it.
Which is even more amazing. Look at another outer band, probably 3 bands out, and there's still yellow within that dark green band as well.
That's the way it is in a major hurricane.
And that's right towards Fort Lauderdale. If you see the spiraling,
there. In a huge hurricane, this is a small hurricane in size in spite of its intensity. It's not the most comfortable seating arrangements here. In spite of the fact that it's a very intense hurricane, this is a relatively small hurricane. In a big hurricane, it has massive numbers of bands. Here, look, you can see, look at Lake Okeechobee. Up on Lake Okeechobee, we're having a very strong, and those outer bands are the kind of bands that often produce the tornadoes. So you see, look, I think that would be west of the metropolitan area. It's in central Broward County, but there's a band there that goes from West Palm. It shows the dark green on down to central Broward County, and
there's a little bit of yellow right by the B too. If you look right underneath the B, there's
that's actually part of the printing. That's part of the printing, yeah. Okay. But that band that goes from up there and then has some yellow in it, and then comes on down across part of Dade County, and then back into the center there, that is a moderate intensity band. But a very strong band is just about to rotate into Dade County. And you can see it there right across the MIA.
That is such an amazing, and we've stated it before, and I don't mean to overstate this, but it's an amazing thing to watch this storm on radar just approach us.
Well, you can almost see it move. Every time that sweep comes around, it gets closer to the tip of Elliott Key there. And that as that comes in, that storm surge is going to be pressed into Biscayne Bay. I mean, you can clearly see that the top of that eye, where that wind is rotating into the bay, is right at the mouth of Biscayne Bay. It could hardly line up in a worse position for providing storm surge in Biscayne Bay.
You know, Bryan, it's interesting. I can remember, like it was yesterday, Donna and Betsy. And just the mere fact of going through this exercise tonight and now early in the morning, it just brings back a rush of memories of how it feels to go through a hurricane, how ominous it is. You can just tell what the barometric pressure does, how it affects what we saw the pregnant women at Jackson Memorial Hospital, how it affects animals and your pets, how they react to it. It's really something.
I'll tell you, for the folks that are in other parts of this building listening to us here, I'm beginning to feel very uncomfortable having you folks out in other parts of the building. The time has come for anybody that doesn't absolutely have to be in some other part of this building to come on in here, because we are obviously taking power hits outside, and we just can't predict by using this radar here exactly when we're going to all of a sudden get a huge gust. Bill Burke, if you're still up there talking to me in my ear, are we able to leave us some kind of split screen on, or are we just going to leave the radar up? Okay, maybe if we have a couple wire here in case we want to draw something to help somebody, but for now we'll just leave the radar up because that's going to tell the story. There's no question about. But every time that goes around, you see that thing inching in there. We do have a telephone here. I'm wondering, what I was trying to think of is, I wonder if someone in the news department, if you want to bring in a Rolodex, if we have something in there with police department telephone numbers, we have a telephone right here, and we'll just dial up some people and see what we can find out as we sit here and go through this, as long as we can. And we'll just try and provide information the best way we can, because obviously, when you go into your secure spot or your most secure spot, are absolutely isolated. We're isolated in here, and it's an odd feeling to be isolated and not know what's going on. But of course, that's the nature of a hurricane.
You could, when you mentioned it in the studio, you could start hearing it almost in here too. The wind whistling by and the rain pelting this building. And again, as we mentioned earlier when we moved in here, this is one of the oldest, if not the oldest building in downtown Miami, one of the original movie theaters.
This was the old Capitol Theater on North Miami Avenue. In fact, this area, which unfortunately, because the piece of equipment that we use to show you both pictures at the same time in our power hit back there has unprogrammed the equipment. We're working on an alternative so we can do both here. But in any case, the area in here that we showed you is actually part of the movie theater, the old part of the movie theater. Our Channel 4 family is now joining us.
Starting to filter in.
Did you come in from outside? Have you been outside?
Yeah. No, indoors.
You were outside? What's it like outside?
Editing. It's pretty windy.
Hector, why don't you go out and ask and tell people to start coming in here?
Got it. No, we've been doing that.
Everybody,
We're just going to be everywhere.
all right.
Okay.
Okay, as long as, because I want you to look where we now have, as that donut is clearly right offshore of Key Biscayne now. And we have a spiral band approaching just north of Miami, that very narrow band that goes around right by the MIA there is approaching us here.
And we're taking power hits now pretty regularly.
And what causes those power hits is somewhere along the line there are some power lines, in spite of the fact our power here is all underground, right? But somewhere along the line something is going across a power line, some branch or whatever is going across a power line, and that's why you get the power surges. Luckily here at Channel 4 we have all kinds of isolation equipment, but sometimes even that's not enough to protect us from serious spikes.
You can see as the eye is approaching the coastline how well defined it is. In fact, it even looks as if now the yellow donut is got a little orange in it as well.
Right. Well, it has that little orange in it, but
now it's more pronounced.
Because it's closer, the radar is more sensitive. The closer it is to the radar site, the more sensitive it's going to be. Now, one thing we can say, as this gets closer and closer, you can see, there was a good power hit right there. You can see where the radar beam is coming from.
Yes.
In the middle of that red area there.
Mm-hmm.
That we know precisely where that is. That's on Dixie Highway in Coral Gables, across the University of Miami. I mean, essentially, that is where the University of Miami is. So I think we can say that this narrow band of serious damage is going to come ashore at Coral Gables and south. It looks clearly, if this thing continues, unless it does something here at the very last second, it's going to come ashore at Coral Gables and south.
So we're talking also about, as you mentioned earlier, Coconut Grove.
Well, if you go, if you know that area and then you go due east from there, you're talking about South Miami, Kendall, down including Homestead and Florida City. That's going to be the most key part, the most destructive part of the storm. But not that it's going to be any good north of there, because clearly we have other strong bands. But based on what we see here, the top of that donut is going to be on a line. It looks like just about even with the radar site. The radar site, again, is absolutely precisely, we know where that is.
The last time we checked Storm Track.
Yeah, I don't know.
Number of lightning hits?
We have not. I don't know if we have anybody upstairs or not.
Rob Pierce, come on in, Rob.
Storm strike. And we have a few lightning hits down south, but we have very few. They're just coming in toward LA Key right now. And to be honest with you, unless somebody out there can hear if that is beeping or not, at some point this system isn't going to work anymore. It relies on a satellite dish.
Rob Pierce just walked in. You obviously just came in.
That's
and
right,
you are drenched. How would you describe what's out there now?
Well, Mike Zimmer and I just got back. Matter of fact, we were downtown. We were trying to bring you a live signal from our car, and the winds were just way too strong. We just couldn't maintain a signal. It's really blowing out there now. There are a lot of debris in the road, especially downtown where they've been doing a lot of construction. There's all kinds of debris in the road. There's barricades. There's some scaffolding that we saw. I think Mike Zimmer, as a matter of fact, is taking this tape back to get it on the air to show you some of the things we saw. It was just amazing, and I'm sure he's going to come in here and talk to you about it. It's just the winds are gusting consistently, coming right at you and swirling in every direction, and you just never know what's going to be falling around you.
You have literally seen first person this storm build. I mean, when we first went out to you live, there was a little bit of wind, not much rain. We kept going back to you almost on the half hour, and you actually saw this thing build and come on shore.
Yeah, I was actually sort of surprised because when we were out there in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of wind.
Were you wondering?
And I was wondering where's the storm at? Where's the storm at? And it started to build, and we had a little problem with our microwave equipment, and we came back and fixed it. And the second time we went out, just about a half an hour ago, I mean, it just really kicked up. And that's at some point we were stopped in the middle of the road, trying to get our microwave signal from the car that we were using, and the car was just being shaken back and forth very violently. At that point, there were down power lines that we were trying to avoid. There was all kinds of debris in the road, so it was a very dangerous situation. We called it finally and said that it's just not worth it, and we came in. But there was definitely a difficult time to get around downtown. We saw one person right before we got to the station who was walking around and just taking whatever shelter he could. He was huddled in a doorway. And hopefully Mike will be here in a minute and be able to show some of the tape that he shot.
Did, not being overly dramatic here, did your final thought to yourself, this is it? As you said, it was getting too violent, the car shaking, we just got to get out of here.
Exactly. We got to the point where we said, we gave it a couple of tries, and we said, if we're not going to be able to do this right now, we want to head in, and that's what we did.
Thank goodness you're back.
Hopefully Mike will be here in a minute and he'll be able to show you some of the tape that we were able to shoot.
I've just been out trying to round up people. I really, as I'm looking at the radar here, it is time for the people in this television station to abandon trying to do anything more than just keep us on the air here and get in here on an emergency basis. Only do we want to be out of this room. I feel very uncomfortable as we see that core approaching right there, approaching Miami Beach. You can see right under the MIA. I'm uncertain what it's going to mean now. I'm uncertain when the storm surge is going to come in. I'm uncertain about a lot of things. I'm waiting. Marina Angleton is working on some phone numbers for us, and see if we can't get some people on the phone, maybe from Miami Beach, to see if we can get to them. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to them. We'll try it here in just a moment. Whoever worked upstairs, worked up this little effect, congratulations. And thank you, but come on down now.
Tell you what, you cannot say enough about the people here at WTVJ Channel 4. It's just been
we have moved
tireless.
The last
We
few
certainly
days.
have. It's people have just worked hours upon hours without much sleep, with certainly not going home to their loved ones, which that in of itself is a difficult thing to have to deal with. And we have some phone numbers here.
While we're doing it, that was a very good idea. I saw rumor control there. Why don't we just see
what's going on?
If the rumor control numbers are working.
596-8735. That's in Dade. And for those of you listening in Broward, 357-8454 is rumor control.
Hi, this is Channel 4's Bryan Norcross. So we're on the air here. I'm just trying to see if you have any reports of where we have any problems going on in Dade County right now. Okay, thank you.
On hold?
Well, we're getting someone that is in contact with the people around.
We have an 800 number as well for rumor control out of Monroe. It's 1-800-427-8340. That's 800-427-8340.
Tony, that I can't imagine why anybody would be calling now and tying up the phone lines unnecessarily, because there is nothing to know at this point but to go ahead and get yourself, nobody's going to come help you. There's nothing to do but to get yourself in a safe place.
And stick with us. We are still on the air. Again, we are simulcasting on Y100. That's 100.7 on your FM dial.
Well, Tony, we're on the air here. I'm here with Tony Segreto. We're in our bunker here at Channel 4. We are still on the air. And we just wanted to call and see what kind of information you have coming in from the police agencies or people that are around the county and on what we're experiencing at this point.
Bryan Norcross is speaking to rumor control here in Dade County.
Right. All right, we have no cars. I'm kind of repeating what you're saying because Tony is holding the mic here next to me. We have no police cars on the road.
So effectively, everyone's off the road now. The last check we had was that there were some fire units on the road, but they too were expected to get off the road fairly quick.
Right. Are you by any chance in touch with, for instance, the Miami Beach Police? We're looking, I don't know if you folks out there are watching our video, but we have the Miami radar on the screen here, and the core of the storm there is approaching. In fact, the core of the storm is just now at Elliott Key on the south side. It will be approaching Key Biscayne on the north side. It looks like to me. Are you in contact with anybody out on Key Biscayne to know what might be going on out there? Is anybody out there in an official capacity?
And
the answer is
no.
Okay, all right. How about, do we have people manning at all the police department on Miami Beach? Have we been in contact with them to know what the situation is out there? Have you got any?
And while Bryan is speaking to rumor control, and he'll give us the information that he's getting momentarily, we want to once again urge you to keep it tuned in to us right here on Channel 4. If you can't do that and your power is out and you have have a radio batteries, please We are on Y100, 100.7 on your FM dial.
All right. Well, let me give you the answer to the question I asked. Key Biscayne is not represented to the. I was talking to the assistant county manager for Dade County, and to his knowledge, Key Biscayne is not represented. Yes. Okay, that's okay. We'll just hang on right here. Let me finish the thought there. To his knowledge, Key Biscayne, with the new city of Key Biscayne, is not represented in the group of people there, and they have not been in contact with anybody at Key Biscayne, so we just don't know about Key Biscayne. Now, as far as Miami Beach, what we're doing is we're going and getting a representative from Miami Beach right now, who has been in contact apparently with the police department. But I can tell you this, that as of 4 a.m., which is essentially right now, hurricane force winds have reached Miami Beach. We have sustained 72-mile-per-hour winds, gusting to 90. And this is why I want to get everybody in here. John Lugring?
Yep.
We have now 72-mile-an-hour winds gusting to 90 on the beach, and that's why I want to get everybody in here. I still don't see everybody in here, okay?
Muriel Joseph is going to go out and try and grab some people.
All right, let's take a look at that video. This is downtown Miami.
Right, this is what Mike Zimmer and Rob Pierce just saw, and Rob Pierce was describing the debris from the construction sites, and you can see the devastation already.
Something has obviously, where are we looking here? Where are all those palm trees? Is that along Bicentennial?
It sure does look like it's right down the street. There's
construction here. That must be 2nd Avenue, Northeast 2nd Avenue. And this is, I don't know, that's by the Freedom Tower. That's
right.
The back of the Freedom Tower. This is the new Metro Mover construction here on Northeast 2nd Avenue. There's something, that's, did Y100 go off the air, I think? Is what? Dean Milkey, are you with the City of Miami Beach, Dean? All right, well, we're here on the air. Tony Segreto and I are here on the air on Channel 4 and Y100, and we're in our little bunker here, and we're on the telephone. Yeah, well, we're happy to be in the shed here. But what we're trying to do is just try and assess over our telephone link here, since it's our only really means of communication out of here, what is going on. Susan,
come on in.
Wallace, come on and join us here.
Come on in. Come on in. Come on. There's a seat right here.
Around the county, we know now that on the beach we have winds sustained at 72 and gusting to 90. As we're looking at video from downtown Miami.
Mike Zimmer just brought this in, Brian, by the way. And this is the last 10 minutes.
Why don't you tell me what you know?
We also hear that Homestead has power outages, hurricane force winds. I also get a report there that trees are falling. Have you been outside at all?
No, I have not. I've been to a window, but let me go back out. Let me see what's going on. The bottom line is it is now, 5 after 4. This is to be expected. All we can tell people is hang on.
And
hang on.
Yeah.
Let me go to the window and find out what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you, we are asking all of the people here at TVJ to come in here because this is deemed the safest spot, and we've been looking at the radar, and you can here it's really starting to approach.
The fact that we are sitting in downtown Miami and don't hear anything is miraculous.
To the studio, you can hear passing by.